everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I really want to talk you through all of my most anticipated new releases for 2024. There are so many amazing books coming out in 2024 and I feel like I'm having trouble even keeping up to date with everything that's being announced and released. Already in January I've missed a few that I could have definitely mentioned in this video if I'd got to it earlier. But I'm going to be talking through to you all of the books that I am most highly anticipating to be released in 2024. And as you know, I read in a few different genres, so we are going to split this video up by different genres. I'm going to start with the fantasy sci-fi. There's also some literary books I want to talk about, also some mystery and thriller books, and finally some romance books. Because honestly, one of the big things that I really want to get more into or like rediscover my love for this year is romance, and that includes romantasy, so romantic fantasy, as well as straight up actual contemporary romances that I just have not been reading enough of. And I just really realized at the end of last year that I had not read enough to even like make a different category in my kind of end of year wrap-ups about the romances that I'd read, because I just had completely missed all of the new releases for the romances and I just was not keeping up to date with romance. So that is not going to happen this year. I'm going to keep up to date with everything and I'm going to rediscover my love for romance books. So that is very exciting and we have a lot of them on this list today. But we're going to start with a book that I was lucky enough to be sent an ARC of, which means an advanced reader copy. So I was sent this by the publisher and it just arrived this morning and I'm very, very excited to show it to you. And that book is A Fate Inked in Blood. I'm very, very excited for this. You might recognize the actual cover, which I can put up here as well. But this book is by Danielle L. Jensen, who wrote The Bridge Kingdom, which is something that I read I think a couple of years ago now, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was also insanely popular and really hyped over on TikTok. So this is her new book. So this book follows Freya, who is a shield maiden and she has been blessed by the gods, but she is currently stuck in a very unhappy and unwanted marriage, and then she gets put into a situation where she has to fight for her life. And then I think part of the story is her ending up falling in love with her husband's son, so kind of like a forbidden romance going on. But this book is Norse mythology inspired, and actually in the package that I got this morning from the publisher there was this, which is telling me which Norse god parent I have, which is Njord. He's the god of wind and sea and riches. So I kind of loved that. That was going to be my Norse god parent for the book. So my knowledge of Norse gods is pretty spotty, but I'm so excited to read this book. So this book is coming out on the 27th of February. The next book actually comes out on my birthday, which is the 6th of February. So mark your calendars for that, as well as for the release of this book. But it is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I've heard so many good things about this author, and his book Foundry Side is on one of my priority lists for 2024 that I'm definitely going to be reading this year. But I also cannot wait to read this story because it's been described as a reimagining on the classic crime novels. So it follows this eccentric detective and his very put upon assistant, and they are figuring out this crime or this murder, but it's using magic. It's giving very much Sherlock Holmes, which I love. I cannot wait to read this book. The next book I want to talk about is by Catherine Arden, who is an author I just discovered very recently when I read the Winter Night trilogy, or the first book in that trilogy, which is The Bear and the Nightingale. So her new book is called The Warm Hands of Ghosts, and it's another historical fiction book, but this time it is centered around World War I. So you follow a Canadian nurse as she is in Belgium. She's been told that her brother has died on the front line of World War I, but something's not quite adding up. From my knowledge about Catherine Arden's writing, I know that this is going to be meticulously researched and a really detailed and rich fantasy story, so I cannot wait to read it. And this comes out on the 13th of February. So the next book I want to talk about is actually the final book in a series that has been very long awaited. I read the first two books in this series a long time ago, it feels. The third and final book is finally coming out, and it is Children of Anguish and Anarchy. So this series by Tomi Adeyemi is a young adult West African inspired fantasy. So in this series you are following a kingdom that has been wiped out of magic and a girl who is trying to bring it back. The series is really good, really well plotted, and world building is really rich, and there is also an enemies to lovers romance. So I'm very, very intrigued to see what happens in this third and final book. And this book is coming out on the 25th of June. The next book I want to talk about is coming at the very, very end of the year, but it is one that I am probably the most excited about on this whole list, and it is Brandon Sanderson's 5th book in his Stormlight Archive series, and I cannot wait. This book is going to be called Wind and Truth, and we don't know much else about it other than it's coming in December of this year. The Stormlight Archive is one of my absolute favourite series of all time. I absolutely adore this series, and it's very hard to give you the blurb of what it's about, and especially now we've got to the 5th book, but it's an epic fantasy. It has amazing characters, absolutely incredible plotting, so many like explosive action scenes, and I just absolutely adore this series and this world, and I cannot wait for this 5th book. Next up, we have possibly the most beautiful advanced reader copy that I've ever seen or received, and it is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. I absolutely love S.T. Gibson, and she actually has 2 books that are coming out this year. This one, Evocation, and also An Education in Malice. And I am so excited for both of them because I absolutely loved A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. So Evocation comes out on the 28th of May this year. So this book is about a medium called David, and he is threatened by a family curse, and the only person he trusts that he can turn to is his ex-boyfriend, but this also means that he has to open his heart up to his ex-boyfriend's new wife. This book has astrology, tarot cards, spirituality, magic, and I absolutely cannot wait. I'm so obsessed. So this book comes out on the 28th of May. And then her other book that comes out this year, An Education in Malice, is a dark academia romance. I believe this centres 2 academic rivals. I think it's sapphic, and I also think that they get involved with their professor. So there's also going to be some forbidden romance going on there. Cannot wait. I love S.T. Gibson's writing of these kind of complicated relationship dynamics, so another one that I cannot wait for. And this one comes out on the 13th of February. So another final installment in a series that I cannot wait for is Alecto the Ninth, which is going to be, I think, the final book in the Locked Tomb series that started off with Gideon the Ninth. I haven't actually read Nonna the Ninth yet, which is the 3rd book in this series, but I'm already so excited for the final installment. These are necromancy sci-fi books. They are so weird and strange. They are so funny and really well written, and I absolutely can't wait to see how this series ends. So there's no official release date for Alecto, but it's said to be coming out at some point in 2024. Another book that is in a series that I'm really keen to continue on with is Sunbringer, which is the 2nd book after Godkiller that I read last year. For me, I'm putting it on this list because even though Godkiller wasn't a 5-star read for me, there was enough there that I was really interested in the story, and that I feel like a lot of my problems with the 1st book could be resolved in the 2nd one. And I really loved the world and a lot of what it was setting up to do, so I'm really excited to see what happens in the 2nd book. Godkiller, the 1st book, is very much your classic kind of quest story. So Godkiller and its sequel is set in this world where demons and gods kind of walk among people, and your main character you're following is a god killer, but there is one god that she cannot kill because it has attached itself to a young noble who she is trying to save. And Sunbringer comes out on the 15th of February. So that's it for sci-fi and fantasy books, and I want to move on to some literary or general fiction titles that I'm so excited for in 2024. And the first one that I'm very excited for that is coming out very soon is Come and Get It by Kylie Reid. Kylie Reid wrote Such a Fun Age, which I absolutely loved when I read it. I was really obsessed with the writing, and I just really liked how she wrote really complicated main characters. So this book is coming out in January. I'm not sure actually which date it's coming out this month. This is set on a campus, and you're following a girl who is basically trying anything she can to earn some money. I think it's about students behaving badly and also having weird relationships with professors. It says it's about desire, consumption, reckless abandon, money, indiscretion, and bad behaviour. So I just can't wait to see what this is truly about, and I can't wait to read it. I'm going to read it very soon. Next up, I want to talk about another book that I was sent, and I'm very excited by this. This is a historical fiction gothic mystery story, and it is The Shadow Key. Although this is the advanced reader copy, so it actually doesn't have the final cover. So this is by Susan Stokes Chapman, who wrote Pandora. And like I said, it's a gothic mystery historical fiction story. You're following Henry, who's been dismissed from his post at a very prestigious London hospital. And he has to move to this village in the middle of nowhere where he meets a very mysterious woman. And then both of them together are trying to basically figure out this mystery about the place that they live. So I don't want to know much more than that about the actual actual plot because, especially for mystery books, I just want to go in as blind as possible. So that's all I know, and I'm very excited. I love the kind of gothic vibes of the ARC cover that I have, so can't wait to read this. And this comes out on the 11th of April. So next up, also on the mystery kind of theme, is a book by an author that I am so curious about, and it is The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. And I read The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by the same author. Absolutely loved it. It's such a fun mystery story, and it's so inventive, and I feel like this is going to be in a similar vein. The plot for this book honestly sounds like one of those riddles that you hear about a group of people all on an island, and they're actually the last surviving community of people in the world. They're basically watched over by the scientists, and they have this very strict security system, and then one day one of the scientists is found brutally murdered and stabbed to death. But basically, because of the security system, everyone's memory is wiped every night. So it's a murder mystery story, but even the murderer doesn't remember actually doing the act. I just love Stuart Turton's really high concept murder mysteries. I'm so excited to read this one. This comes out on the 28th of March. Another mystery thriller that I'm actually so excited to read is The Fury by the same author who wrote The Silent Patient, which I actually really enjoyed when I read it. The plot of this book really sounds like Glass Onion. It's about this reclusive ex-movie star who invites all her friends to visit this remote island for a weekend, and then there's a murder and it's trying to figure out who's done the murder. It sounds like a pretty basic concept, but it's one that I always really enjoy reading. And I'm just really excited to see what kind of twist the author puts on this quite simple and familiar formula. And I think this book also comes out in January, but I'm not sure what date. Okay, so we're in the final section of this video where I'm talking about all of the romances that I really want to read this year that I am highly anticipating. The first one, just to get it out of the way, is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'm not actually totally caught up on Emily Henry books because I've not yet read Happy Place, so I need to read that one as well this year, which I'm definitely planning on doing. But so I think Funny Story is an opposites attract kind of story. Funny Story, you're following Daphne, who gets broken up with, and her fiance ends up going back to or getting into a relationship with his childhood best friend, who is also broken up with someone. And then because of their recent breakups, these two exes end up getting a place together and becoming roommates, but they are apparently complete opposites. So I'm very excited for this. I always like Emily Henry's books. So far, my favourite one has been Beach Read. I really enjoy how she includes some emotional kind of character development as well for her main characters. This book comes out on the 25th of April. Final book that I want to talk about is one that honestly I don't actually know that much about, but I've just seen it a few places. And honestly, I was just completely grabbed by the cover and the description of it. So I think this is going to be a really cute read, and it is The Honey Witch. This is a sapphic romance. I believe this is set kind of on a magical island where a girl is learning how to use her magic to become a honey witch, but apparently the honey witch can't fall in love. Then another woman comes to the island who is very skeptical, and I think that there's kind of a grumpy sunshine, and I just think from the cover it's going to be absolutely adorable, really sweet, and the perfect kind of cozy sapphic romance that I'm looking for. And this comes out on the 14th of May. Those are all the books that I am most excited to read in 2024, my most anticipated releases. Please let me know if you think that I've missed any down below in the comments, anything that you've been really excited for, and also let me know if you're going to put any of these on your TBR for the year. And if you did like this video, then please remember to like and comment and subscribe because it really means so much to me. That is it from me today, so thank you so much for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye!